Teacher talking sports with us would do how we live. Let's continue the series I've been doing. MLB Mount Rushmore's best four players in each decade. I did the 2010s, 2000s. Today will be the 1990s. Previously did MLB Mount Rushmore's for the four best players in each franchise's history and the four best players in each position in MLB history. They're all in place. You could check them out. But here is my 90s Mount Rushmore for MLB, and I'll have more on each player as the video goes on. But in alphabetical order by last name, I am including Barry Bonds, and yes, he was on the 2000s one as well. The Rocket, Roger Clemens. The Kid, Ken Griffey Jr., and the Mad Dog, Greg Maddux. Now, as I mentioned in the 2000s video, if a guy had PED allegations or was suspended for PEDs, just looking at how they did on the field, that is not disqualifying them from being on. But yes, the 90s are pretty stacked. Some other guys I considered. Frank Thomas definitely was strongly in consideration. Jeff Bagwell, Tony Gwynn, Pudge Rodriguez, Pedro Martinez, Mark McGuire, to name a few, but there was numerous others who definitely at least deserved at least consideration. But let's get into the four I did choose, starting with Barry Bonds, who, yes, as I mentioned, also was on the 2000s one, but Bonds started his first three seasons with the Pirates from 1992, the Giants from 93 to 99. In those 10 seasons, Bonds batted .302 with a 1,036 OPS, a 179 OPS plus, hit 361 homers, drove in 1,076 RBIs, scored 1,091 times, and had 1,146 walks for a 434 on base percentage. So Bonds won 3 MVPs in the decade, 2 with the Pirates in 1992 and in 93 with the Giants. During the decade, also had MVP finishes of 2nd, 4th, 5th twice, and 8th. Bonds won 8 Gold Gloves in the decade, as well as 7 Silver Slugger awards. Led the league in on base percentage 4 times, slugging 3, OPS 5, walks 5, homers and RBIs once, and runs once. Bonds had 3 seasons of at least 40 homers and an additional 6. Additional 3 homers with at least 40, 6 homers, 6 seasons with at least 30 homers. I don't know why it's so hard to say. But anyhow, 7 seasons with at least 100 runs, 8 seasons of at least 100 RBIs. This was back when he was a stolen base threat as well. 52 stolen bases in 1990. Had 2 other seasons of at least 40. Barry Bonds was just an incredible player throughout the 90s, as he was from 2000 to 2007. Thus is on my 1990s Mount Rushmore. Next, the Rocket, Roger Clemens. Clemens pitched from 1990 to 96 with the Red Sox, 2 seasons with the Blue Jays from 1997-1998, ended the decade in 1999 with the New York Yankees. For the decade, Clemens went 152 and 89 with a 3.02 ERA, 57 complete games, 24 shutouts, 2,101 strikeouts, had a 1.176 whip. In his time in the decade, he won 3 Cy Youngs, 1991 with the Red Sox, and in both of his seasons with the Blue Jays in 1997 and 1998. Also had Cy Young finishes of 2nd and 3rd for the decade. 5 times in the decade, led the American League in ERA, including a microscopic 1.93 ERA in the 1990 season. Led the league in innings pitched twice, strikeouts 4 times, shutouts 4 times, wins twice, 3 seasons of at least 20 wins in the decade. Had an ERA under 3 in 6 of the 10 seasons, 2 seasons with double-digit complete game totals, and had 6 seasons of at least 200 strikeouts in the decade. Roger Clemens, of course, one of the most dominant pitchers of all time, also on my 1990s Mount Rushmore. Ken Griffey Jr., who went to the Reds in 2000. That's not included in this decade, though. So from 1990 to 1999 was all with the Mariners in the decade. Griffey batted .302 with a 965 OPS, a 152 OPS plus, 382 homers, 1,091 RBIs, 1,002 runs scored, and 151 stolen bases. So Griffey was named the AL MVP in 1997 for the decade. Also had MVP finishes of second, fourth twice, fifth, ninth, and 10th. In all 10 seasons, Griffey was a Gold Glove winning center fielder. He also won 7 Silver Sluggers in the decade. Griffey 4 times led the league in homers, had back-to-back 56 homers in 1957 and 1948, had another 4 seasons where he had at least 40 homers. Griffey had 7 seasons with over 100 RBIs. He also had 5 seasons with at least 100 runs scored. Was almost a perennial 300 hitter. He hit over 300 7 of 8 seasons from 1990 to 1997. Led the league with a 646 slugging in 1997. Also had 4 seasons with over 1,000 OPS. As I mentioned, 10 Gold Gloves in the decade. Was an elite defensive center fielder. Made some incredible catches. Ken Griffey Jr. also on my 1990s Mount Rushmore. Let's end with Greg Maddux. Maddux pitched the first 3 seasons with the Chicago Cubs in the decade, the last 7 with the Atlanta Braves. So from 1990 to 1999, Maddux went 176 and 88 with a 2.54 ERA, 75 complete games, 23 shutouts, 1,764 strikeouts, a 1.055 whip for the decade. Was known for his pinpoint accuracy, walked just 1.7 batters per 9 innings for the decade. So Maddux won 4 straight Cy Youngs, the first in 1992 with the Cubs, the next 3 with the Braves from 93 to 95. Also had Cy Young finishes of second, fourth, and fifth in the decade. Twice finished in the top 5, of NL MVP voting. Was pretty much the best fielding pitcher in the game. Won a Gold Glove in all 10 seasons in the decade. So Maddux led the league in ERA 4 times, including back-to-back years. 1994 a 1.56 ERA, 1995 a 1.63 ERA. 7 of the 10 seasons had under at least 2.72 ERA or lower. Led the league in wins 3 times, had 2 seasons of at least 20 wins. Led the league in innings pitched 5 straight seasons from 1991 to 1995. As I mentioned, barely walked anyone. 3 straight seasons from 95 to 97. Led in walks per 9 innings. Also rarely gave up homers. 4 seasons where he gave up the least homers per 9 innings. 4 seasons leading the league in whip. He had 4 seasons where he had under a 1 whip, and his first season in the decade a 1.32 whip, but every other season no higher than 1.13. I'm sorry, 1999 also had a 1.34, but from 1991 to 1998 no higher than a 1.13 whip. Greg Maddux just absolute standout. Won a World Series with the Braves in 1995. Should also mention that Clemens won a World Series with the Yankees in 1999. But there you have it. That is my 1990s Mount Rushmore. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Again, I left out some Hall of Famers, but it's difficult when you're limited to just 4 players. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I'll be doing the 1980s. Anyhow, don't forget to subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a friend, tell a friend. Subscribe. Like the video, share the video, hit the bell for notifications. I'm out.